Filming yourself as a mermaid underwater is a key component of our hobby for a lot of people, myself included. But there is a lot more that actually goes into it than just throwing on a tail, throwing your camera in the water, and doing the thing. Hey my friends and fishes, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Courtney and I am a mermaid tail maker from Vancouver, Canada. So today I'm going to take you guys step by step through my process and show you guys all the things that I do to make my underwater footage look good. So before we dive in, let's take a look at the gear, which I probably should have gotten out. Brains are highly overrated. Oh, thank God it's all here. This is what being a professional looks like, by the way. So I use the GoPro Hero 9. And though it does have its issues with overheating, it is an excellent little camera. And with this awesome little camera, I use the following: my magnetic clip, my trusty suction cup mount, a little wee dive weight, and this great little tripod that Mermaid Zelda gave me. I really like the Hero 9 because it actually has a front display where you can actually see your shot from this side of the camera, which is really helpful. And it allows me to much more accurately frame my shots. So now taking a look at the accessories that I've already mentioned, I like to use the magnetic clip. The GoPro attaches just on here. It has two little doodads at the bottom that you just kind of flip out. You pop it in here, and then there's a screw, like a bolt, this little thing here that'll just bolt in there to keep it in place. I like this little magnetic clip when I'm looking for something very low profile, or if I have a magnetic surface, because it sticks like a hot damn. My suction cup and I are best friends. If you can buy one thing out of all the things that I'm about to show you as an accessory for your GoPro, this is the guy. So the GoPro, like on the clip, has the little two flappies that come out here, and then it just gets attached in the top, like so, and then you would actually just screw it in. This thing has been such an amazing device. It needs a really smooth surface though to stick to, but that said, if you have a really level like base of the pool, you can still just balance this, point it up a little bit. You'll still get some great shots with that. And alongside this, I'll often use my 1 pound little weight here, and I'll just sort of wedge this guy kind of in there, and it'll give it that extra support and that extra weight. There's a couple of times I've used this also on stairs. I'll flip the camera the other way and have it kind of balanced like this in a stairwell, because you can put the camera on like any which way that you want, right? This guy can film upside down and correct the footage, so it'll automatically like rotate for you. And then the little tripod is kind of just if I'm vlogging, I'm out and about. This has been really nice though, especially if I just want to quickly throw it down. Like if I'm not necessarily at the pool filming underwater footage, this is a great little dude. He just plunks right wherever you need him. He's there. It adjusts a little bit. Another fantastic item. But of what I've shown you, like I said, the suction cup, this is what you need to get. You are gonna want one of these. I swear by this. I love this so much. So before I hit the pool, I'll make sure that everything is charged and ready to go. Make sure that SD card is empty. Come on, you don't want to be that person. I also make sure I've got a backup SD card and a backup battery. Pack it all up and you're good to go. So I have 5 kind of standard camera positions that I rely on for my footage. And those include my GoPro attached to the wall with the suction cup, kind of looking forward. My GoPro, again, attached to the wall, looking down. So what I mean is like the camera is pointing more down. My GoPro balanced on the floor if a dive weight's necessary, with it looking slightly up. This one is with my GoPro flat on the ground, kind of flat like this, or sometimes I'll take it off the suction cup entirely, again, depending on if I'm at a public pool or if it's really busy or what. Fussing around with your camera at the pool is not a great thing. It draws attention and it's just not ideal, so you're gonna want to plan some of this out ahead of time. And then a selfie swim, which I would do with this like so, and I would just hold this kind of out ahead of me and film myself as I'm swimming. Now I know some mermaids actually do use selfie sticks, but I kind of usually limit myself to kind of one apparatus, if you will, when I go to the pool, so I'm not bringing a bunch of stuff. I usually just hold my GoPro to do that. Do try to avoid using the same angles over and over and over again, especially if you're looking to kind of spice up your footage and make your swimming content more interesting. If you're feeling extra energetic when you're swimming, something you could try is actually performing the same trick, but positioning your camera in multiple different angles and then cutting between footage of all those different angles at different parts of the trick, so it looks like you have multiple cameras filming you at the same time, even if you don't. A little tip is that I won't actually keep my camera on for the entire swim. Like I said, this guy does overheat, and I also don't want to find myself stuck having to sit through like an hour's worth of footage all in one go. I like to have like chunks. Do you know what I mean? I want to have like 6 minutes here, 8 minutes here, 10 minutes max to kind kind of sift through, because it can be a lot of footage to go through otherwise. And when you're looking for those magic moments, efficiency is key. And just so you guys know, I'll film anywhere from 30 minutes to 60 minutes at a time, like per session that I go to the pool. And of that 30 to 60 minutes that I'm out there working my tail off, I'll get maybe anywhere from a minute to maybe 10 minutes, absolute max. I think that's only ever happened once have I had 10 minutes of footage. I usually average at about 3 to 5 minutes worth of usable content. When you go and you're filming, please don't stress if when you come home you're like, oh my goodness, this is not good. This is not what I wanted. Because there will be little chunks. And depending on how you're going to use the footage, little chunks may be all you actually need. It's also really, really important to be as respectful as possible of other people at the pool, like especially while you're filming and you're in all of your mermaid getup. And if you're swimming with other mermaids, do check and make sure that everybody's cool with you filming them, especially if you're planning on doing what I do, which is publicly sharing my footage, you know, for thousands of people to see potentially. And if you do decide to include other merfolk in your videos, they're okay with it and everything, do try and be considerate. Mermaiding isn't always super glamorous. You know, you could catch somebody having a bit of a struggle or a bit of a moment, maybe not a very flattering angle, maybe they're getting water up their nose and they're making a face. Whatever it is, just consider how you might feel if somebody had footage of you and it wasn't the most flattering and you chose to share it. Maybe crop the footage, cut the footage, or just don't use that clip entirely. It's just something to be aware of. So now after my filming session, I will go and I will rinse out everything in clean water and dry it thoroughly with a nice soft towel. Then I like to get everything off of my camera ASAP, because during my sort of peak mermaiding season, I could be out every other week, sometimes more than once per week. I'm just ready to go at a moment's notice. Now, when it comes to editing my content, I prefer to do it in Final Cut Pro on my Mac. Final Cut Pro was a little bit expensive, and given that this is kind of my job, it was worth the investment. So now that I have all my footage, I kind of assess the situation, see what we've got. From that, I'll kind of start to make up my mind about which platforms are gonna get which clips and which content, and how am I gonna be able to use it to best serve my purpose. Alright, well, I thought I changed out my battery, and I'm gonna do my best to get the same angle, but I gotta change my battery, because it's about to die, and we're not even halfway through this. I don't ask for a lot in life, but it would be nice if once in a while my footage was okay. Where did we get to? This is why we have a script. I also use Final Cut Pro for the majority of my color correcting, which is what we're going to discuss next. So though you may not be using Final Cut Pro for your editing, the principles of color correcting your video will stay the same across all platforms, though how you get there may vary. Okay guys, so let's take a look at Final Cut Pro. This was me editing something else previously, but the first thing that I'm going to do, this is not going to be like a full-on Final Cut tutorial. If you guys do want more content like this, you got a thumbs up, you got a comment, you got to let me know, because I will make content like this because I love to. So you let me know if it's something that you're interested in, you want more like tips and tricks on making mermaid content, but you gotta tell me. If you don't, that's fine too. Let's dive in. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to slide on over, make a new event. We're going to start with a horizontal kind of a format, like a widescreen, your standard kind of stuff. So 1080p. I've gone through all of my clips, you know, I'll go through them individually. I'll check to make sure that what I've got, you know, I've got some stuff already I can see. Just by going through it really, really fast, I can see that there is a lot that I'm not going to use, and there's a good chunk of stuff that I can use. So this was a fun little moment here. Let's do something with that. Let's say, throw this into here, and I take the audio out of things because I like to, well, sometimes I will leave it in. If you want to leave it in, I do suggest you turn it down though, because the GoPro records all kinds of really loud. Now this was there's a couple of cute moments here. You'll recognize some of these clips if you've been around other parts of my social media. You'll know, you're like, oh yeah, there's going to be a faith in the background somewhere. There's some lag for some reason. I'm not sure why there's lag. Oh, it might be because it's recording. So that could be it. I'm using too much of my computer's brain power. So let's say, for example, you know, I want to do a little cut here, and I'm probably going to end it. I did a little back flippy doodad here. I'm checking out Faith, and let's just say that that's going to be the clip that I used for this particular tutorial. So if I was going to do this, things that I would do, you know, I would be clever to cut out the fella in the background. In this instance, I'm going to leave him just because I will end up using this clip as a vertical format, and he's not going to appear in it anyways, so it'll be fine. Color correcting in this particular program is done up here, this little film strip. No, I lied to you. This little triangle. I do it with color curves is how I usually do it. Now I know this is a little bit hard to see because it's such a small, maybe I'll make it just fit so it's a little bit bigger. I'm gonna just lower this, Luma, and increase it a little bit here and here. And then I'll do periodically, I'll turn off and on just to see. This gives you like a little bit more, your darks are a little darker and your lights are a little lighter. Now, the thing that gets lost the most in this particular pool is everybody looks kind of gray or a little bit too yellow. So I like to get a little bit more red, and I sometimes do it just like in the middle to kind of see what that's going to feel like. And again, I will check periodically to make sure that this is kind of the direction that I'm going in. You'll see that the red will also make the floor a little bit more white. This is kind of like you're balancing your whites, kind of. You want the whites to look white. You can also see how freaking pale I am. Curves you can do a lot of different things with. There's going to be a lot of experimentation that goes on for you here. Basic principle is that this is the red in your shadows. This is the red in your highlights, and this is kind of everything in the middle is how I kind of view it in my mind. So this pool is also notorious for having very blue, like a very blue atmosphere, which I actually kind of like, but if you wanted to tone it down, you could just by pulling blue out. The same principle as you did above. So you can see now this is given a little bit more variation. It's not everything so blue. Okay, so you can see now it's still got blue where it counts, but not quite as much everywhere else. Now you'll see that I look greeny gray again. So you're gonna need to maybe pull a little bit of that green back out over here. There you go. So that's the little things that you can do to color correct your footage and make something that looked a little bit too blue have a little bit more punch, right? I'll show you these two shots side by side so you can see what that looked like. If I wanted to turn this beautiful clip into a short, and this is usually what I do, like I go through and I'm like, okay, so this is how this is gonna look for maybe a YouTube video or maybe B-roll for a video like this, then I can go new event. I'm gonna pick my vertical format. Okay. Grab this guy. What you'll see will happen is like, oh, but Courtney, it's right in the middle of the screen. This looks so stupid. Don't do this. Like the black bars on the bottom and the top. This is not the vibe. So something that I've discovered is I can crop it and it will automatically make it in that amount of space. But if you do it just like this, now I'm not centered and now I look a little stupid. So why am I not centered? It's going to be laggy just because I'm also recording and my computer obviously does not like that. And obviously I'm looking at something and you can't see who I'm looking at either, which is problematic. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is pick the section where you spend the longest amount of time. I swim in, I flip into the scene, and here I am. Now what am I looking at? I'm reacting to something, so I'm looking at something. So pick your point. You can kind of go back and forth and find it's laggy for me as heck because recording at the same time is obviously not the vibe. So I smiled at something. We want to see what I smiled at. So I'm going to make a break here. Again, I am assuming here that you have some knowledge, and then go back in here. You can slide this over on the line. Now, unfortunately, Faith is still a little bit far off the page, so you can't really see her too carefully, but you can see how it'll go from here. Then Faith does a little flippy dippy around, comes around, and I can stop maybe at the peak of that little smile here, somewhere here, as we're learning. We're coming around the mountain. And then I can even copy and paste that same piece. I'm not going to change anything else though, so I can get rid of all of this. And paste that here, and that'll bring me back to where I was. So then I'm looking up, I'm looking at Faith doing a nice little flippy. Again, I apologize for the lag. Then I come through and do a little flippy, and then it just sort of ends there. That's where you use your cuts to your advantage. That's where you're going to do things, making it so that you can see all of the action as opposed to just the one part of the action. I do see a lot of mermaids who don't bother like changing the framing of things. And it is part of the fun of like filming your regular format instead of vertical format, because it does mean that you have some wiggle room if you want to reframe where you are. Whereas if you're only taking your footage and it's already in that vertical format, you're kind of limited. As a bonus tip, did you know that you can actually use Adobe Lightroom to color correct your video? Did you know this? This is amazing. I just found this out this year and oh my gosh, game changer, especially if you're using your phone to color correct stuff. So let's take a quick look. I want to show you guys because it's really fun. So I've selected a piece of footage here. This was taken at the lake this year. It is quite murky, so I am going to be a little bit limited in what I can do, but there are some things you can do to make it look a heck of a lot better. Lightroom is available as an app on your phone as well, so if you don't want to have access to this on your actual computer, you can do this on your phone as well. I do have presets for Lightroom that I have been working on. I'm going as fast as I can. I want them to be perfect before I release them, so hang tight. First things first, let's take a look and let's just do a couple of things to improve this piece of video. So up the exposure and the contrast a little bit. We should be able to see here on and off, you can take a look what that looks like color correcting. Shadows, make the shadows a bit darker, highlights a bit brighter. Again, I like to go back and forth just to see where I'm coming from and where I'm going. Okay, blacks are black, whites are white. That makes a pretty big difference already. You can already see how much clearer I am in comparison, right? The next thing that I'm going to want to do is, this is a very warm image, so I'm actually going to cool it down. I'm going to cool it down a bit. Already that makes even more of a difference. Okay, up the purple a little bit. That helps bring out a little bit of like your pinks and like your skin tone a little bit, is this purple. It really brings out the red in my hair as well, which I love. And I'm gonna up the vibrance. Saturation, sometimes I feel like it blows things out a little bit too much, so I wouldn't muck around with that too much. And here we go. So there you have it. Let's have a quick look. And already, check this out. So from there to there, there to there. Now, like I said, this isn't already the best quality footage that you've ever seen in your life ever, so it helps if the footage that you're starting with is already of a good quality and it's not too murky of a water kind of a day. That does help. I'm gonna make the contrast a little bit higher. Always kind of checking. Now what this will do is it will kind of mess around with some areas depending on what the exposure already was. Some areas may start to look a little bit blown out. I'm going to make this even a bit more blue, a little bit more of this purple, a little bit more vibrance, make the blacks a little bit darker, the whites a little bit whiter. Okay, a little bit more highlights down just a little bit. Still want a little bit of that green in there because I'm also a green mermaid, so I don't want my tail to be completely lost. Might lower the exposure actually. So you'll tinker with it, right? You'll tinker with it and you're gonna find some things work better than others, but already this is infinitely better than that. I infinitely better, a lot more clear, a lot more visibility. And just saying that, you could also take this to the extreme if you wanted to make something really moody. You could actually add a filter over top that makes it look really dark and sinister and moody. Like you could make it like super dark. You could really change what the kind of colors are, and all of a sudden now I'm swimming at night. Do you know what I mean? So really the possibilities are endless with what you can use and how you can even reuse footage. Like this used to look like that. Okay, I mean, we're on two different planets here. We're on two different planets here, right? So there's a lot of stuff like that where you can really get the mood just by changing a few things, and Lightroom is great for that. So if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up to let me know. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join the pod and the bell notification as well so you never miss an upload. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to catching you all again in the next one. Happy swimming! Bye!